I don't know why it's telling us that anymore. But anyway, I'm going to record. We're going to look at prayer, and the prayer that I thought we would look at, we can zoom through these things a little bit. You already know a lot about these prayers, the ones that fulfill commandments. There's two versions. This is the Kiddush. We could do Kiddush because you know a lot of the words for the Kiddush, but we're going to like go all the way down. This is the Kaddish, which you know is related, and the name of the things are related. There's another blessing this is Baruch Hu, which is the call to worship. The Shema, which has trope marks. You can always tell that it's coming directly from Torah, although Shema is coming from Torah. But in a prayer book, you can tell that it's coming directly from Torah if it uses God's name as Yud He Vav He. That's otherwise it's usually Yud in a prayer book. I don't do either of those in my handout sheets because I want you to be able to stick them in your pocket or whatever, take it with you. This is also, the name of this is Kiddushat Hashem. There's a blessing that's a Kiddushat Hashem, and there's a blessing that's a Kiddushat Hayom, which is the holiness of the day and the holiness of God, and Torah blessings, which was supposed to be at the end of chapter 13, and they think you can translate it all on your own, which maybe you can, but that's not the one I wanted to do. This is the Haftarah blessing, which is the one that we know the least well because we do it least often anymore. But here's the Aleinu. And I thought we would do this. This is usually said in front of an open ark. Before pandemic, or as I like to say, BCE, which is before the COVID era, I always would ask the kids to come and do this. We changed the culture of our services a lot when we renovated. It should be that people should come up and get an aliyah, which means going up. Aliyah means going up, but in Yiddish, we'll call it an aliyah, and that means an honor. And it should be that someone comes up for that. But most of my congregants, more than 15 years ago, the congregants were all 75 and over. There's still, most of the congregants are 75 and over. And some of the ones that were 75 and over then are still around, and some are gone. But it's hard for the congregation to get up and downstairs, many of them, at least the ones who come. So I started to have the kids always do three things at least in the service. The kids who are in the Bar Bat Mitzvah class are supposed to be ready to lead the V'ahavta. The reason why they lead the V'ahavta is because the Hebrew is stuff they should probably know, and it is something that they do not have to be 13 or over. They don't have to already be an adult to be able to lead. The Avot, they have to be able to be an adult to lead. The whole Amidah, they're supposed to be an adult. The Baruch Hu, they're supposed to be an adult. But the Shema and the V'ahavta, they don't have to be an adult to lead it. So I let them do that part. And that's, a halachic thing that I still hold to. But Rabbi, we're Reform Jews. I know. Sorry, Charlie. And the other thing that I let the kids do is I let them open the ark for the Aleinu because they can boing. So I make them come up and they know when to bow and when to blah, 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 blah. And then they can go down because they can. Plus I have those adorable little Torah scrolls underneath the Torahs. So when they're little kids, they can hug the Torah also. And I think that's kind of fun. We haven't had as many kids show up since the pandemic, during the CE, the COVID era. The other thing that I let the kids do is the motzi. We always have a challah. When we were having Oneg Shabbat, we would have a challah out on the table in the foyer where we would do Oneg Shabbat. And that was the one that I would say is for the grownups. And this is the one for the kids, and, let them touch it and eat it and whatever. But I don't know what we're going to do. I'm nervous about that. And sometimes the kids could help me lead some of the songs, like if there's an opening song or a closing song, like an Ein Keloheinu. But so this is something that.
Excuse me, is there a way of putting a ramp on one side or the other of the bima?
Well, it was obviously something we looked into, but the bima is 2 feet high, which means we need 24 feet of ramp. And 24 feet is a really long way to go. When we looked at it, we realized that it's more than 3/4 of the wall. And it meant, and it's the opposite side. So the ramp would have to be on the opposite side. If you're on the bima, immediately to your right is the handicap entrance. And the handicap ramp would have to be all the way on the left wall. So they would have to go from that side, which is presumably the right side, which is presumably where they're seating, all the way to the back of the building, all the way up the thing, and service would be over already by the time they got up to the bima. So what we did instead, which I think is a very wonderful thing, is I put the lectern on the ground level. And so you can get an aliyah, like reading and things, by not having to. An aliyah is an honor, and it's a spiritual going up. It doesn't have to be a physical going up. So you could do that from the ground level. And it's the way of the modern sanctuaries are built so that there's more intimacy anyway. And
Right.
so that's what we did. We looked into everything. We looked into
Well, and if
elevator
they're
things and
reading from the Torah can be on the beam,
Lectern.
I mean, on the
lectern.
lectern that's
So it's
on the ground.
I'm not going to lie. It is rare that we read from the Torah at this point in our
Yeah.
world, and usually when we do, it's because it's a big event, and then we're not down on the ground floor because that takes up some space of where people can go, and we're up there, and that the people who can get up and down the stairs are the ones who get aliyahs for the Torah. It's what we've thought about. I mean, we've thought it through, and the things that we need people to do, if they can't get up and down, we accommodate them. There's a lot more, the architectural stuff.
How do you do then, like, say it's a bar bat mitzvah and you're passing the Torah to generations? Do you go down on the
if
ground
the
floor
grandparents
to
can't
do
if the grandparents can't get up and down the stairs very easily, yes,
Yeah.
I'll take it down to them, and we could do it all in front.
Yeah.
We could go up the stairs. We give them the Torah, and we're coming down anyway to march. And I'm not going to
Right.
lie, that doesn't happen that often. It is one of the most wonderful things that happens during a
I
service.
love that.
But part of
Yeah.
the problem is that 99% of my students have at least one parent who was not born Jewish. So it's weird to figure out how you pass from generation to generation to generation when half of the family is then left out. It's a weird
Rabbi
thing.
Galveston put my in-laws in that line.
So I would too.
Bar
And
mitzvah.
I never hesitate to have the non-Jewish parts of the family honored, because the way I look at it, if they are coming and and they're honoring the fact that this child is going through a Jewish life cycle ritual, they're supporting it, and I want to honor it. So I give them something that they can do that doesn't put them on the spot, that someone who is not Jewish can do, which brings me back to Aleinu. And that is that when I ask the kids to do it, I ask usually everyone who's under 13 to come up and open up the ark. And even if the kids are not Jewish, like when I have a whole Methodist class come in, if you're under 13, come on up. And it could be 20 kids up on the bima, and none of them are Jewish. Sometimes, I mean, like it's I hope that people realize that it's an honor, but a lot of times there are non-Jewish kids up there, and let's take a look what the words mean, and then you'll see why it's a little bit awkward to do that. So here we are. I'm going to go to my annotate mode. So the first phrase is, so we'll sing it through the whole way. This is how we do it. We'll sing it through once. And
when do you teach them when to bend and when to get up from bending in the Aleinu? Because Ivy didn't even know it.
Ivy has a problem, not a problem. Ivy is blessed with having to live in many worlds for a lot of the things that she does in life. And if you notice at Agudath Achim, they did bending in different places. And I think Ivy was just adrenaline. Ivy knew every time we practiced it, she knew. I think that every once in a while you get up there and you're going into autopilot mode and you forget some things. So, but at their synagogue, so I'll talk to you about that actually. Once we get to that line, I'll explain why I do what I do. But it's not how I grew up doing it, but I'm telling you why I do what I do now. So this is how we sing it. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol latet gedula liotzer b'reshit shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot v'lo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama Shelo Sam Elkeinu Kahem, Vigor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam. Here comes the bowing part. Va'anachnu koreim umishtachavim modim lifnei melech malachei hamalachim hakadosh baruch hu. All right, let's just take this much. All right. So in this part specifically, va'anachnu means and we, right? And we. Anachnu is we. Anachnu koreim means and we bow down. Umishtachavim, and we worship, umodim, and give thanks. Lifnei melech, before
God's face.
what's melech?
The king.
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 Malchei hamlachim, the king, before the king, the kings of the kings, right? The king of the kings of the kings. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed is he, right? So this part, the part where we're at the end, where we say, and we bow down, and that's why I bend my knees there, and we pray, we worship, but there's an implication of almost a prostrating there, like going all the way down, bend our knees and then bow down and give thanks before the King of the kings of the kings, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed is he. All right.
But I always stand up at Lifnei.
Because in Jewish tradition, it's a really good question. In Jewish tradition, the mode of worship isn't usually doing it bowing. We usually can stand before God. There's a part of it, the way I like to look at it is there's a part of it that's kind of we get to walk humbly with God. It's not that we're always have to be, one of my favorite SAT words, obsequious. We don't always have to be like groveling before God. We get to stand up and be with God. And so even when we do a Baruch Atah, we're up by the time we get to Adonai. Baruch is related to the word berech, which means knee. So you bend your knee for Baruch Atah, you praise God, and then you stand up and you get to talk to God kind of face to face. I like to see it that way, and that's how I like to look at it. And I'm not making this up. I mean, I get some of these rules from the guidelines, the guides about how to do this. So then it says, so let's take phrase by phrase a little bit, and without putting anybody on the spot, I don't want to do the whole thing yet. I just want to see, what do we think we know that it says from each of the phrases now that we know some words. So Aleinu lishabeach la'adon hakol. Are there any words or any parts of words that you know?
Hakol is
Hakol means
all.
what? All or everything, right?
Elaine is we.
So
All of us.
the new ending has to do with we, us, right?
Yeah.
Al means on or upon. Aleinu means it is upon us, right? Aleinu, upon us, which means we're obligated. Aleinu means we're obligated because it's upon us. We would say that in English too, right? Kind of upon us.
Yeah.
The shabeach is to praise, or to give praise. I mean, maybe that's a better translation here. La'adon hakol. La means to or for, right? Adon it's a word that I have difficulties translating. We used to always say that Adon was Lord.
The Lord.
But Lord drives me crazy. That word drives me crazy for a lot of reasons. Ivy's brother is the one that when I said, I would rather have you do a different translation for your Torah. I don't want you to say Lord there. And he said, but that's what it said in the book. I'm like, yeah, but I could show you a different book that has a different translation. That's not what we go by. I said, what's your, knee jerk? What's the first thing you think of when I say Lord? And he says, Vader.
Right, of course.
So I said, that's why I don't want to use Lord, because it doesn't, mean exactly what we want it to mean, that it's not a positive connotation. He's an evil Lord, that's not what I want God to be. Lord has taken on some kind of Christian connotations that I think they're praying. When I learned Middle Ages, say it again.
But we had it first.
Yeah, I know. But then they've kind of made it a complicated word. When I learned the Middle Ages, I was a terrible history student, but I never thought that the Lord or the lady of the manor were nice people. They didn't treat their people very nicely. And so I have problems with it there. Plus, it's a masculine word, and I don't think of God only as a masculine thing. And so I tried to come up with alternate translations. So instead of saying Lord, what if you say master? And so the Black students in my class at the time said, no, that's not a comfortable word for me. I don't want to think of God as master. And so pick another word. So in the Reform movement, they came up with the word eternal. And they say that God is eternal and God is the only thing that's eternal. So I can kind of, every time you see an Adonai kind of thing, then you can plop in eternal and it'll work. But I don't know. I mean, I could call it almighty. I could call it, I don't know what, but that's the word, whatever that is. And you know it. Aleinu l'shabech, it is upon us to praise or to give praise, la'adon hakol, to the eternal God of everything. Okay. And then this next line, let's see if there's any words we know. Latet gidula liotzer bereshit. Are there any words that you recognize from that?
Bereshit.
Oh, you got bereshit. So what's bereshit? Excellent. Where what is it?
In the
Beginning.
Beginning, right. So bereshit is the beginning, and it has a bigger connotation to us because it's the beginning of Torah also. So it represents the whole creation story and not just a beginning. All right, so what else? So that's good. And they use bereshit.
Gedula is from big.
Right, gadol is gedula. It's an adjective, and it has to do. It could be an
big.
adverb. So it could be latate means to give bigness, to give greatness, to give bigness. Liotzer bereshit. Now yotzer, the prayer in the morning that comes right after the Baruch Hu is called the Yotzer. In the evening, it's Ma'ariv Aravim. And it has to do with, and when we get to it each time, I say Yotzer HaMe'orot, the one who forms, like is kind of like an artist, artistically forming. So Liyotzer, to the one who is the former, the one who makes Breshit, of creation. Marla, I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, forming, you can also be creating.
Exactly. And that's, and these are a lot of, both words have to do with showing that we're creating. But so you could be an artist and you can paint. And the Yotzer feels more like you're getting your hands dirty and you're shaping it into something. But it's true. But that's exactly, it's a good translation. Either way, Latet Gedula, Liotzer Breshit, that it is still, it's our obligation, it's upon us to give greatness to the one who made the creation. All right, so now the next phrase is Shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot. What words do you know from there? Anything?
Ha'aratzot.
Ha'aratzot. What are aratzot? Good.
Lands.
Good. The lands. Excellent. 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 What else? Shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot. Anybody know what lo means?
No.
Yes, you do. Just kidding. Everybody said no. So shelo means, the she is a contracted form of asher, which is the relative pronoun that, which, who, whatever. So we tend to use who in this case. So when we say it's upon us to give praise to the master of everything, to the creator of everything, who lo, who did not, asanu. Asa means to make or do, us. Asanu, shelo asanu, who didn't make us. Ke is like or as. Goy is nation. Goye is nations of the lands. So God did not make us like the nations of the lands. We are obligated to praise God because God didn't make us like anybody else. All of those other people.
You could actually say because God made us special.
God made us special. God made us different. God didn't, right now it's not saying we're better or worse. We're just not the same. God made us why are we this is defining who it is we're supposed to praise. Shelo asanu, who didn't make us, kigoye ha'aratzot, like the nations of the lands. And it gets better. Velo.
And I interrupt for a second.
Yeah, of
My
course.
Rebbe, when I was back in Brooklyn, gave a big sermon. It was the first sermon I ever heard about how the Aleinu was the very first prayer of all time.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
the most important prayer to ever say, more than the Shema or anything like that.
It could be. And especially, so I'm going to tell you that different time periods, people are going to react to this prayer in different ways. So let's see where we go with this. Velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama. Anything? We getting anything from that one? Velo means
And
And
no.
no,
right? Samanu. So we got that new ending again. So whatever this has to do with us. So we have
us.
asa, we have sam, which is the same verb as sim shalom. So like we have oseh shalom and we have sim shalom. Sam is to put. Samanu means and didn't put us.
Didn't put us.
Ka mish like ka. It's the same word prefix ka like mishpachot. What's
The
mishpachot?
family.
Family.
Families, like because it's plural, right? Families of ha'adama,
Of
Land.
the eternal
land, the land.
land.
Adama,
Oh,
yeah.
the
So
land.
Eretz
Oh,
is a land,
Adam.
but Adam,
Okay.
Adama is the ground,
Adam.
like the ground. So it's different ways of
Yeah.
saying this. So we have didn't make us like the nations of the lands, and didn't put us like the families of the
Families.
ground. You know, this ball we're living on. And there's another starts with shelo, that didn't again.
That
Sam, the same verb, put chelkenu kahem. So chelkenu means something about us.
Us.
Ha is like or as, hem is them.
Them.
So it didn't put our something like them. Chelek is not a word that we had. It's not a word that I necessarily expect you to know, but it's a portion. Like if I gave you a portion of my pie, that could be considered a chelek. So it's a portion, chelek. There's a saying from Pirkei Avot that has a catchy song to it that says, it asks things like, and who is wise? The one who learns from everyone. Ezehu chacham. And who is strong? The one who can hold his might back. But when they say who is rich, it's the one sameach b'chelko, the one who's happy with his portion. That's who's rich.
Makes sense.
Right. Okay. So, but I'm just trying to say, maybe you heard that word before. Shelo sam chelkenu kahem, who didn't make our portion like them. Vigoralenu kechol hamonam. We're only going to understand a teeny bit of this one. I'm not going to lie to you. Vigoralenu. So it's a v is and the new ending is our. Kechol, we know that one, like all. Hamonam. So it's something like, so you may know this because I think it's the same word in Yiddish, goral. Goral is your fate, your destiny. Vigoralenu, and our fate, kechol hamonam, like all of the throngs, like this whole populace, the whole big group. So I don't think most people, when they're standing in front of the ark, are realizing that there's this sentence that says we must praise God and give greatness to the one who made all of creation. He didn't make us like any of the other nations of the earth. He didn't put us like the families on the ground of the ground. He didn't put us, he didn't put our portion like them or our fate like all the rest.
Here.
I don't think people are thinking about that like that. And it makes some people uncomfortable now. I mean, I understand why when you were young, it would have been the ideal, most important prayer, the quintessential prayer to say, God, thank you for making us different. And trying to acknowledge how different we are is really important. But there are times in the world where it feels awkward that this is one of the most important prayers we say. And the Reform movement, I can tell you, there is discussion about replacing this prayer. Because it feels, well, because imagine how it feels. You're sitting in the sanctuary and half of your family is not Jewish, but they're coming here and they're supporting you. And you're saying, yay, God, we're more special than everybody. Everybody's unique, but we're more unique than everybody else. You know, it's
Well,
weird.
is it really saying that, or is it just stating a fact that we are different? He made us different.
And I think the
You
answer
know.
is yes. I think the answer is yes. It is stating a fact that we are different, and it's saying it over and over and over again in glorious ways,
In all different,
in all different ways. But
and that's why we can have anti-Semitism.
and that's why we can have anti-Semitism, and that's part of the complication here, because the world we live in our own little world, it's okay if I fall in love with somebody not Jewish. It's okay if I have a family where it's partially Jewish and partially not, and we can live in perfect harmony with our neighbors. And then this becomes uncomfortable to say, but God made us, you know, like, and is it saying anywhere that we're better? Marla used the word special, and I like that word, but is it saying better? No, but it says this enough. Like, what is it? I love it because it's like the thing that says everybody is unique and I'm more unique than you are, or something, you know, like, or everybody is the same, or everybody's unique because we're all the same, or you know, it's a weird.
Yesterday was Gay Pride Day. This month is Gay
This month
Pride
is gay.
Month,
That's right.
and it's
Oh,
perfect
yeah.
for anybody who's LGBTQ.
Or more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
say
is
they're
there a
different.
is there a reason to change it? Because there's interfaith families when they really probably don't even know the translation of the prayer.
Well, and that's really important. And I'll tell you what, let me grab a prayer book, pick a prayer book, any prayer book. I could either I'll even do the new one, okay? I'll take the new one out. Let's take a peek at the new one. Although I could have done that on the computer. I've got it in there too. But if we go to Aleinu, la la la. Try to do it with this thumb. It's not going to work very well. Aleinu. It says, let us now praise the sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the creator who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God. There is none else. Do you hear anything in there that sounds like you didn't make us the same as anybody else? Or alternate version. Let us now praise the sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the creator who has set us apart from the other families of the earth, giving us a destiny unique among the nations. We bend the knee and bow, acknowledging the sovereign, the supreme sovereign. So that one gave us a hint. And then there's another one, the top left one. Let us now praise the sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the creator whose unity we are charged to declare, whose realm it is our purpose to uphold. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving, blah, blah, blah. One of them gave a fairly direct translation, but it's not what we're used to. It's not the translation we're used to at all. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto God who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. It used to say he, you are our God, there is none else. We bow our head in reverence and worship the King of Kings, the Holy One, praise be. That's how we grew up. That was the translation in Little Blue
I
Book.
never heard that.
That was the translation in the Little Blue. Oh, that melody, that might have been a nifty melody. There was
Yeah.
let us adore the ever-living God, the ever-living God. There's a bunch of different melodies to that I have. We said we were going to start doing other prayer books, and I don't know if we should start that in June. I intended to, but June is already here, so I don't know.
I know.
We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, so I think it's interesting. I don't think that we realize this is what we're saying. I'm not saying that I disagree with this statement with the Aleinu. I think that the Aleinu is a powerful statement, and it may be the most important because, and why do we say it in front of the open ark? I mean, because we're really proud of the fact that we do this and we are set apart.
And would we think about not doing it when it is a traditional prayer?
Oh, well, the
And like
reform
your
movement has changed.
mom's-
I'm sorry.
Your mom said, her rabbi thought it was more important than the Shema even. But why would we do a major thing like taking it out?
I
It would
think,
upset me.
yeah.
What's nice about reviewing this the way it is and talking about it, I can say something else like, oh, we're getting to the end. Because that's what this prayer already always said to me.
It's funny that you say that. I went to a seminar about how to get lay leaders to learn how to lead the service. And I was all excited that it was going to teach me something about how to inspire my congregants to want to lead the service. What do I do? Make it easier, give them transliteration. What do you do? And so the most important thing he said was, don't mess with this section of the service, because when you get to the section of the service, you're coming to the end. So don't say Aleinu l'shabeach and then pause and say things before you get to the part about the Kaddish, because everybody knows that that's what's going to come next. It reminds me of my cat now. Like you're in the bathroom and it's 6 o'clock at night and he knows he's going to get fed. And then you say, oh, wait, I have to that's not good. Everybody knows that this means it's the end of the service and it means we are about to finish. And it's called the concluding part of the service. This section starts, this prayer starts the concluding part of the service. Roberta, sorry.
This morning I went to Song Swap and they were talking about getting ready for the high holidays. And yeah, they did Rosh Hashanah today, and then next month they'll do Yom Kippur. But it was very, very interesting because some of the people that shared did very traditional melodies. And then I thought some of them took the feeling of the high holidays completely away, and I thought you would think, especially for the conservative movement, that they would stay within the bounds of the high holidays.
In what
if
ways?
You want to change it any other time of year, it's fine.
It's true. People get used to what they're used to. They want to hear the melodies that they've heard. There's a part of them that do not want a new melody, no matter how much the melody is a terrible melody.
And I loved it because they mentioned that some of them were Helfman's melodies.
Yeah.
Max is right there with me.
There you go. And that's
Was it at Ivy's bat mitzvah that there was a grandfather asked to pick the closing song, and he picked the traditional melody for Adon Olam?
She said, Rabbi
That was Elliot last week.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Elliot. I haven't heard that for years, and I was in my glory.
Yep. It's funny. I will never forget that there was a time I was what was called the lay rabbi. I was still a graduate student, and I was a lay rabbi in Bennington, Vermont. And there was I was leading the service, and I said, I'm going to do these melodies because people know them, and a lot of times you like the familiar. But I also did one that I knew nobody knew. I did one melody, and I said, I think you might like this one. And this old lady comes up to me, like wanting to hit me on the head with a stick, saying, you saying that you want to do what's familiar, and then you go and you do something that nobody knows. Like, we do like the familiar. I don't know what melodies you know and don't know. I thought sometimes it's nice to have something new. Yeah, it's true. It's kind of,
Well, and I'll tell you the truth. When you do a different melody, I find I concentrate on the words more.
Hmm.
I have to
Yeah.
remember the words to put them with a different tune.
it's like a mantra when you already
And
know the
I-
melody, blah, 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 you just do it.
Right.
I
And
think-
we used to talk about how we didn't like a new tune, but then I realized you really think of the words more when
There's
you
an
try and
advantage.
put it together. So,
All right,
But
well,
think about that Adon Olam melody. I would think kids would think it was so much fun because it's
Fun.
sort of like a row, row, row your boat.
that's right.
Right,
I
right.
don't know them. Asher malach. That's fun. It's a good one. We don't always do a closing song because by the time we get to 7 o'clock, they have to stop. They don't want me to go beyond 7. So if I see, but then somebody said to me, and I appreciate this, someone who's there all the time said, you know what? I like when we do a closing song, no matter what, even if we're 2 minutes late, because I don't like the last thing that we have be the Kaddish.
Kaddish.
That's the last
yeah.
thing that's in my head. I want to have a song. And so you'll notice that more and more I try to have a closing song.
Well, and I know even before COVID, the temples used to do Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, and then they would cut off the recording.
Oh,
You
no.
know,
Oh,
so
no.
so the people at home never got more than 2 words of
That's
Shabbat
not good.
Shalom.
I hope that's not what we do. I hope they let us sing it out. I don't know. That's really funny.
What would happen if you went beyond 7 o'clock and you'd sang a song afterwards?
What would happen to who? I can tell
Anybody.
you, there's a guy who would say, come into my office. And he would make me stand in the sanctuary and he'd say, don't ever do that again. You know that we have appointment. Not everybody wants to be here all day.
You
Mhm.
tell him that
Person.
he's welcome
We're
to leave.
meeting for dinner. What do you
That's what-
mean?
That's what he's saying. He would say, we're meeting for dinner. All right, so should we do an Oneg Shabbat this week? We're supposed to have a dedication afterwards. I bet we can't because we're supposed to walk around I guess we'll be walking around the room, the renovated room.
Are you going to actually do it in the room? Have equipment in there?
The service, I doubt it. The service is not going to be in the office, but I have a plaque. The plaque will be in the sanctuary.
Well,
and-
and the
and then-
picture of the office is up, so.
We could have, oh yeah, that's right. I'd made a picture of the office. It's not a
Yeah.
great picture yet because today I spent the whole day. You know what it's like? Wait, hold on. I'm going to stop the recording.